Hello and hola! Welcome to Yoga with Chris. Today we're having a special yoga practice for Star Wars fans. May the 4th be with you.
You can also do this practice tomorrow to celebrate the Revenge of the 5th and all month long because this is a May. Let's find our own comfortable seated position, resting our hands on top of our legs and closing our eyes if we like, bringing our attention to our breath, just trying to keep it at a slow pace while inhaling deeply through our nose and exhaling gently also through our nose. Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter, Yoda said. Quoting my colleague Melissa Gall, the character of Yoda and his teachings to Luke is heavily tied to Eastern philosophy, especially yoga. Yoda teaches Luke non-attachment, liberation from fear, and using the Force, basically meditation, to find the power inside to overcome obstacles created by the mind. Unquoting. Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. Once you start down the dark path, forever will it dominate your destiny. Consume you it will. Anger, fear, aggression, the dark side are they. Inhaling peace. Exhaling our fears, letting them go far away. Inhaling. Exhaling. Dropping our chin to our chest and gently opening our eyes. Now, let's sweep our legs back to get on all fours, aligning our wrists below our shoulders and our knees hip-width apart. Let's straighten our right leg without lifting our foot too high as we inhale and straighten our left arm, lengthening both limbs, pulling our heel and fingers in opposite directions. Exhaling as we come back to center, and then inhaling and doing the same with our left leg and right arm. Exhaling, coming back down, and let's do 2 more with each side in this focused stormtrooper. Taking a small step to the front with our hands, lifting our knees off the mat, and then leading with our tailbone. Let's lift our hips to the sky on this downward facing layup. Maybe feeling a gentle stretch in our calves and holding for a couple of breaths. And lifting our left leg, bringing that knee close to our chest. Let's land our left foot between our hands, and we can either walk our hands up on our legs or just sweeping our arms up, finding our snowtrooper lunge. Rolling our shoulders back and down, but if we need to relax our shoulders a little more, we can choose to have cactus arms. For some of us, staying here and just landing our heel would be okay, but some of us may need to shorten our stance to keep our heel on the mat without opening our rear foot to a wide angle. We can for sure open a little to keep the balance in this Jedi pose. Feeling the stretch in our rear calf and making sure we're pointing our tailbone down so we can also feel the stretch in our hip flexors, and our hips are facing both to the front of the mat. And let's remember to lift our arches so we are keeping our knees safe. Pivoting from the hip, we can now open our rear foot to leave it parallel to the back of our mat. Our hips and torso are facing the side of the mat. Our arms are parallel to the floor and fingertips are pulling in opposite directions. And again, let's remember to lift our arches. We know that our knees are safe. If we look down without moving our head, only our eyes, and we can see our big toe on the inner side of our front knee. We are now in ray pose. Lengthening our body, flipping our front palm up and leaning back for our reverse Vader pose. Coming back to ray pose, bending our front arm and leaning on our front leg without putting weight on that arm. And we can point our right hand to the skies, or if it's part of our practice, we can bring that hand overhead for our look pose. Using our core strength, let's straighten up our torso, getting back to ray pose, and then straightening our front leg without locking our knee, tilting our hips and pretending we want to touch something in front of us to finally come down to our triangle Boba Fett. Remembering to keep facing the side of the mat with our torso. So if this is the furthest we can go, it's perfect. Let's keep in mind this is our own practice. And let's use our core strength again to straighten our torso, bending our front knee and rotating from our hip. The rear foot is now pointing to the front of the mat. Our rear heel is in the air and we're back on snow trooper pose. Inhaling, exhaling, bringing our hands back on the mat, stepping our left foot back for downward facing Leia. Let's lift our right leg up and bringing our knee close to our chest to finally frame our right foot with our hands. Again, we can walk our hands on our leg or we can sweep our arms up for this snow trooper lunge. For some of us, staying here and just landing our heel would be okay, like we did on the other side. But some of us may need to shorten our stance to keep our heel on the mat without opening that rear foot too wide. We can open a little just to keep the balance in our Jedi pose. And feeling the stretch in our rear calf and our rear hip flexors, we can get that by pointing our tailbone down. Our hips are facing both the front of the mat, lifting our arches to keep our knees safe. Turning out from the hip, let's rotate our rear foot to leave it parallel to the back of our mat. Our hips and torso are now facing the side of our mat. Our arms are parallel to the floor with fingertips pulling in opposite directions. And again, let's remember to lift our arches. We know that our knees are safe if we look down without moving our head. And we can see our big toe. Let's move that big toe, hello big toe, on the inner side of our right knee. We are now, for this other side, in ray pose. Lengthening our body, our arms, our spine, flipping our front palm up and leaning back for our reverse Vader pose. Inhaling, exhaling, coming back to ray pose. Bending our front arm and leaning on our front leg, avoiding to put any weight on our right arm. And we can now point with our left hand to the stars, or if it's part of our practice, we can bring that hand overhead for our look pose. Using our core strength, let's straighten up our torso, getting back to ray pose. And then straightening our right leg without locking our knee, tilting our hips and pretending we want to touch something in front of us. And now coming down to triangle Boba Fett, remembering to keep facing the side of the mat with our torso. And let's use again our core strength to straight up, bending our front knee and rotating from our rear hip. Now both feet are pointing to the front of the mat, our rear heel is in the air, and we're back on snow trooper pose. Inhaling, Exhaling as we bring our hands to the mat and our left foot that was behind is stepping to the front of our mat while we bend our knees as much as we need so we can touch the mat with our fingers. Inhaling halfway lift, meaning straightening our legs and our back. Exhaling, bending our knees again and putting our hands on the mat. Inhaling, sweeping our arms overhead. And exhaling, bringing our hands in front of our heart. Good. Setting our heels hip-width apart, anchoring all the corners of our feet and lifting our arches while we rotate our shoulders so our palms face the front of our mat. And while we lengthen our spine to feel taller, we also lengthen our arms with our fingertips pulling down. This is our Ewok pose. From here, let's shift our weight to our right leg, lifting our left foot from the mat, leaning that foot on our support leg, but not only leaning, but also pressing against the right leg, and that leg resists pushing against the foot. This is our tree trooper pose. Gently sliding down the left foot to the mat, and let's do the same with the opposite leg. Keeping our core engaged, shifting our weight to the left leg, lifting our right foot and leaning it on the support leg, pushing against the leg, creating that dynamic tension while the leg pushes against the foot. Our tree trooper is now sliding the right foot down. Finding our focal point in front of us. As we engage our core, let's rotate our left shoulder out and reaching out for our left foot, holding from the ankle, the toes, the instep, our heel, or even from our pants. And if that's not possible, we can always use a strap, a belt, or one of our socks. But we're not only holding our leg because the foot is trying to escape from our hand, but our hand is not letting it go, and that creates the dynamic tension in our body. Our right arm comes overhead, so we find ourselves in dancer layup pose. And if it's part of our practice and we think we can keep the balance, let's lean forward for a little extra challenge. Keeping our focal point, keeping our slow breath. Gently, let's release our left foot as we keep our focal point and our core engaged. Rotating this time our right shoulder out and reaching for our right foot. Same way we did before. It can be from the toes, instep, the arch, our pants, or using our yoga props. Let's create the dynamic tension by pulling the foot away from the hand, but not letting it go. If we're now in balance, let's lean forward for that extra challenge, keeping our slow-paced breath. And gently releasing the foot to come back to Ewok pose. When we're ready, let's sweep our arms up as we inhale, sitting our hips back and exhaling while we bring our arms down in front of us as if we were trying to sit on our speeder bike. Lifting our toes just to make sure we're anchoring our feet, and then dropping our toes and gently let's lift our heels from the mat. We are now fully riding our speeder bike. Inhaling, bringing our arms overhead. Exhaling, bringing our hands to our heart center. And to release our muscles, let's shake our legs and arms a little. Maybe taking a few steps. Let's walk like C-3PO. Yep. And when we're ready, let's bring our yoga blocks barely behind us. Setting our heels mat width apart, lifting our arches, sitting our hips back as if we wanted to do a sumo squat. Let's bring our arms to a cactus shape, remembering to open our knees by lifting our arches. Now we are on this peaceful trooper, keeping our slow pace breath. If it's part of our practice, let's try to come lower and deeper in this pose, keeping our heels on the mat. But if this is something that's not happening today, let's try to bring our seat bones to the blocks, step, or pillows, and let's have a seat there, keeping our knees open and our feet well anchored on the mat. We can now release our pillow or block. Let's bring our seat bones to the mat and facing the longer edge of our mat. Let's open our legs as wide as we can without feeling uncomfortable. Inhaling and sweeping our arms up. Exhaling and feeling that we want to bring our chest to the ground without rounding our back. Sweeping our arms down, trying to reach our feet with our hands. And this would be our gliding X-wing. But if today is not that day we can go all the way down, let's go for an extended X-wing, staying where we can get without rounding our back. And then let's just lengthen our arms, holding the pose for a couple more breaths. If we are ready, let's get our torso up and bringing our left heel toward our right hip. Then our right heel is coming to the outer side of our left thigh, firmly planting the right foot on the mat, and our right hand pushes the mat behind us to help us keep our back straight. Then inhaling and sweeping our left hand overhead. As we exhale, let's bring our left elbow to the outer side of our right thigh as we start turning our torso to the right side to add a little twist. We are now in our half Lord of the Sith pose. Inhaling and filling our belly and ribs. Exhaling and emptying our ribs and belly, finding more room to go a little further, keeping our spine reaching upward. Releasing the left arm and both legs. Let's repeat it with the other side. So bringing our right heel to the left hip and then crossing the left leg over the right, planting our left foot on the mat with our left hand pushing the mat to help our spine stay straight. Inhaling and lifting our right hand. And exhaling, bringing our elbow to the outer side of our left leg as we turn our torso to the left. And repeating our deep and slow breath, trying to find more room to go deeper with every exhale. Releasing our right hand first and then both legs. Let's find our own comfortable seated position, bringing our yoga blocks to each side of our body. Let's try it from a regular seated position. having each hand on a block. Let's engage our core and using the strength of our legs to keep them in place. Let's use our arm strength to push the block down and lift our body off the mat. Gently landing our seat bones and legs on the mat, setting our blocks away. Let's get comfortable and lay down on our mat, letting our body to melt down and closing our eyes to get into this relaxed Wookiee pose. Bringing our attention to the sound of our breath and only our breath. In many places, it's still allergy season, so our nose may make some funny sounds. Let's imagine it can be Chewbacca sounds. Keeping our attention on our breath, not only the sounds but also the pace. Let's keep it slow and deep and feeling the force. To be Jedi is to face the truth and choose. Give of light or darkness, Padawan. Be a candle or the night, Yoda said. But his teachings go beyond choosing the light or the darkness. He also speaks about our emotions and how they can affect our performance in every field: professional, personal, our relationships, our social life, our school. Control. Control. You must learn control. But he doesn't talk about being a control freak. He talks about our feelings and emotions, and very often being worried about what other people think. But let's remember, in yoga, as well as in every aspect of life, whatever is off our mat is none of our business. We should not be afraid or worried about how the yogi or yogini on our side is doing the poses. We're not competing. He also teaches us to let go all attachments. Train yourself to let go of everything you are afraid to lose. And he explains, attachment leads to jealousy, the shadow of greed, that is. And now, I'm allowing myself to read a few Yoda quotes for you, which contain a lot of what we learn from yoga philosophy. When you look at the dark side, careful you must be, for the dark side looks back. In the end, cowards are those who follow the dark side. A Jedi uses the Force for knowledge and defense, never for attack. A Jedi's strength flows from the Force. And we can translate the meaning of the Force to our strength, our mind, that we can get and discover through meditation. let's bring back our body awareness by wiggling our toes and fingers. Then circling our ankles and wrists. And without making any big effort, let's roll over and lean on one side of our body. When we're ready and keeping our eyes closed, let's push the mat away, finding our comfortable seated position without opening our eyes, feeling like little Grogu asleep. And remembering another Yoda quote: "Truly wonderful the mind of a child is." Let's feel like children. Dropping our chin to our chest, gently opening our eyes and inhaling as we sweep our arms up, catching the blessings from the galaxy and bringing them to our heart. Thank you for practicing with me today, my dear Padawans. Keep watching my videos, like them, subscribe to my channel, and Jedi Master in my class you will become. May the Force be with you. Thanks to Rob Osborne for the wonderful creations in which most of the poses for our Star Wars yoga flow are inspired. Check his website. If you feel like you're learning something new about the Force, I kindly ask you to consider leaving a donation through PayPal, Venmo, or Cash App with the usernames on your screen. Thank you. If you're enjoying this video, please give it a like, subscribe to my channel, and share it with friends and family so everyone in the galaxy can watch it.